Alright, welcome back to the shop. Not sure if any of you guys follow me in some of the other places I post, but this is the newest iteration of the 762 by 39 Type 38 Arisaka. So me being me, after I got the Arisaka converted, I was like, whoop-de-doo, cool, you know, and then I got bored. So what is going on right here, right now, is turning a turn bolt internal mag-fed rifle into a semi-automatic detachable mag-fed rifle. So I'm keeping the same caliber at 7.62 by 39, and this is turning into a direct impingement rotating bolt, semi-automatic, just like pretty much you see the building blocks of it here, right? So one of the hardest parts of doing a semi-automatic conversion of a bolt action is transforming linear motion of whether it be a piston, a carrier, whatever, into rotational motion of the bolt. So as you can see here, this is the Type 38 bolt, and it's got a 90-degree throw on two lugs, just like that, right? Whoopsies. So on, say for instance, the Howl and on the Charlton conversion, like what they did to the Lee Enfields, it was basically the equivalent of strapping a gas piston and a corresponding tube on here, and then modifying the end of the bolt handle to run into a specific raceway or a trackway or something like that. And that would, so basically when the gas reached the gas port, piston and its system reciprocates back, unlocks bolt, and it comes back with it. It's captive in its specific raceway, and it comes back and turns again. On the Charlton, however, it is a camming nub welded onto the side of the actual bolt body itself up towards here. So there have been many attempts at doing semi-auto conversions. There was most famously the Peterson device, detachable mag fed, and it worked pretty well from what I understand. I don't know, I've never really messed with one in person. The Turner conversion was pretty different because the Turner conversion transformed a rotating bolt into a basically like a side locking bolt, what we would normally call like a falling lock. And then of course there's the Howl. That's the one that everybody knows from Forgotten Weapons. And the Charlton. The Charlton was actually ordered in significant numbers. However, the factory burned down, blah blah blah. And then there's a bunch of different conversions of straight pull rifles, because those are really easy to do. Straight pull rifles, really, all of the camming action is in the bolt body already, because that's just the principle on how it operates. So like Ross's, Styr M95s, the Mannlicher family of rifles, things like that. So there were very successful semi-auto conversions of those. So with this conversion, the transforming linear motion into rotational motion is actually going to be pretty interesting. So in the direct impingement method of operation, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a gas block all the way up here. There's going to be a stainless steel gas line that comes back. This is the rear quote-unquote gas block. And then there will be a carrier that marries up to this. There'll be two guide rods with the recoil springs on it. And there'll be a separate bolt carrier riding basically on top of all of this. So what's going to happen is that the carrier is going to have a gas cup in it. So when the gas comes back off of its tap all the way up there, through the line into the cup, it's going to come back, the gas is going to work on it, and it's going to come back about an inch, give or take, to unlock the bolt. And then since they're held together, they'll come back in unison, complete their length of travel, come forward, strip around off the magazine, same thing. It's going to come home, and then over the course of about an inch of carrier travel, the bolt's already home, the bolt head itself will rotate and lock into position. Now, to give you a better understanding of how that might operate, I've got a couple of well-known examples here. So this is a Galil bolt. This is basically a very fancy AK. It was actually based on the Valmet. But this is a prime example of turning linear motion of the carrier into rotational motion of the bolt. So you can see there is your rotation right there. So this is in the locked position, just like so. This is in the unlocked position. Now you'll notice that there's not, it's probably about a 45-degree throw on there. It's It's not very much, right? But its camming surface is milled into bolt carrier right there. You know, nice big wide trackway, and then a corresponding nub is right there on the bolt. Now there's only a 45-degree throw on this because look at how skinny this bolt lug is. This is the lug that determines travel right there, and then the other bolt lug is basically this entire rear surface right here, right? So there's that one. And then here's another really well-known example. This is the AR bolt out of my HK. So most ARs will not have this spring-loaded. This is just the way the MR series is. So if you look, the bolt itself moves due to this camming pin. So the cam track itself is milled into the carrier, and the bolt rotates because the pin connects it to the carrier, and the pin rides in this raceway right here. And you'll notice that it's got an extremely short rotational throw because there's 8 locking lugs on there. Well, yeah, technically 7. But that is how short the rotational throw on that is, right? More locking lugs you have, the shorter the throw is. So this is essentially doing it the hard way. So what's going to happen is that basically to have this done, the entire receiver needs to be redesigned. So the bolt is going to get cut right about here, give or take. I haven't decided exactly where I'd like to mark it just yet. And then of course the extractor itself is going to have to get cut in the corresponding spot, and then it's going to have something welded onto it, or it's going to have to be rebent in order to put tension on it. So over that 1 inch of throw, there's going to have to be something back here that has either a camming pin on it or a surface on it to create the rotation needed in order to basically lock and fire. So what I've decided to do is that when I cut this open, this bolt is essentially hollow. Most bolt action bolts are essentially hollow almost all the way through up until the chamber face, or the bolt face. So what I've decided to do is cut the bolt off, and I'm going to make a stub with a tail on it, which will lock into the carrier. And on that, there is going to be a milled track, just like so. So this is what would be needed to induce, or to create, a 90-degree throw over 1 inch of rotation. So this is going to be what's milled into the tail on the bolt. And then the carrier itself will have a surface inside with a hardened steel pin that this will ride on inside there. So once the carrier hits that 1 inch in the forward or the rearward, the hardened steel pin will guide the bolt head itself into that 90-degree throw. So the bolt will technically be somewhat stationary, you know, because it still has to move forward just a little teeny tiny bit while it rotates. You can see it right there. It's not a whole lot, right? But as it hits that 1 inch of throw, so boom, right there, and then the 1 inch, there you go. That'll lock it forward. And then on the rearward stroke, same thing. The carrier is going to move, you know, 1 inch rearward while it's unlocking, and then it'll pull it back out. So that's my take on how to make this happen. Of course, there's going to have to be extensive modifications. The bridge of the receiver is going to have to be milled out. The receiver itself has already been milled out to accept AK mags. You can see down in there, it's been widened out. This section right here is really thin, but once the rest of the outer shell is welded on there, it'll be nice and reinforced. This is just a temporary mock-up until I can get the shell itself cut and welded on there. And then the gas block itself is going to have, oop, there you go. There's going to have to be the hole right here, the central hole for the gas line coming up from the front, and then the 2 holes for the guide rods back here. And then there'll be a corresponding block at the rear. There's going to have to be a little bit of extra travel back here to accommodate the bolt itself and the carrier's length of travel. But there will be a corresponding block at the rear, just like the front. in order to put those guide rods on there and give a nice smooth surface for the carrier and its recoil stroke. So let's see if we can put this on there. There you go, just like that. So this will be a very fun and interesting project. I'm really looking forward to getting this done. I've been doing this a little bit at a time, mostly because I've had to kind of finagle around to get a setup in order to mill this. This is a test mill right here. This is not the finished one. But hopefully this will be done in a reasonable amount of time so I can show this off and let everybody take a look at it. Call me crazy, call me stupid, whatever, or call me a genius. You can do that too if you want. But yeah, looking forward to getting this done. Looking forward to showing this off and showing everybody that it is possible. So thanks for watching and happy building.